Our guest on Just Talking is Mike Cuenca. He is the writer and director of the latest rock and roll coming of age story. And I love this. This film is called I'll Be Around. How's it going, my friend?
How's it going?
Hey, we're doing great, man, because you have a film that I personally love. I'm a huge rock and roller. I haven't seen a film like this before. So let's get right off to the bat with this, because how did you decide to write and direct this coming of age rock and roll film?
We just wanted to showcase, the music scene, behind the scenes kind of thing. And we wanted to show a domino effect. We wanted to show how everything's kind of interrelated. The flick has a lot to do with fatalism. If you believe that you actually have control over outcomes, or if you're destined to land somewhere with them. So that was basically the idea.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
Fast, because we were able to get a clip of your teaser, I'll Be Around. So for our listening audience, to reel them in.
Absolutely.
Let me get it going. Turn off your videos, please, gents.
Hey, we got you, fam.
Speak into the microphone. Speak into the microphone.
It's a memory that we share. What's the meaning? I just ordered drugs to go. It's the pleasure that she gave.
I love that because, especially with the plot, I'll Be Around, it revolves, like you just said, around a single day of individuals going to a music festival. But why the focus as a writer and director to keep it all within a day? I mean, were you inspired by the show 24? Was there something else that you saw?
we actually omitted all the stuff with the terrorists. So, that's what we were left with.
So we were left with the rock and roll show.
We were left with the rock and roll show, yeah. So. Dazed and Confused, American Graffiti. I love those like one and done days that are, are really special. Plus it helped out with just showing the whole idea is that when you approach the movie or you start watching the movie, that you're kind of like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know who these people are. There's so many characters, but it's also the feeling you get when you move to a new town or you just join a new music scene and you're like, oh, okay, so those guys are in a band. Those guys are the fans. And then you're like, oh, that person's dating that person. So that's kind of the whole idea, And we tease that at the beginning with the Babs character who gets off this bus. She has this, suitcase in her hand. And you're like, oh, she's going to be our POV character. But it turns out that she's not. We're just teasing you with that, So the whole flick, too, has a lot of misdirection. You're not going to get what you expect to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I realized right away when I was watching your film is there's not a single protagonist throughout the whole film. And, you kind of made it work in a way that I've never seen before, because usually that only works for theater, in my opinion. I don't know, Marissa,
Sure.
You might have a different opinion on that yourself, as you are.
I'm sorry. If you don't have a good plot line and you have I'm like, please shoot me now. I want it to be over.
So that's a gutsy thing to do, Mike, going into a film like that, especially revolving around 24 hours with the numerous cast that you have in this film. What made you want to pursue that in this film?
Well, years ago, the first thing I worked on was this alt culture web series, Oblivion. And then that we had about 16 main characters. So I was already used to working with an ensemble. So this was like, that was like a good decade ago. So this was kind of like an end cap of that, like a summary of all the things that I've done in the last 10 years. But yeah, the whole idea too was, like I said, joining up a new music scene, and you're getting snippets of everybody's lives. Like these lives have, they're pre-existing obviously, and they're going to be existing after the movie, hence the title. So you're just seeing like this one snippet, this one day, and you're kind of putting all the pieces together. So in that sense, I think it allows for a lot of rewatchability, because I think in a first view, the flick is so dense that you don't really realize how all these hundreds.
Yeah.
I'll exaggerate a little bit, like hundreds of characters are connected.
No, it's definitely a lot, and it made me personally feel like you used to once be in a band. It felt like you had a lot to get off your chest, and it seems like you've noticed a lot of funny stereotypes in the rock and roll and punk scene. And
I mean, we make fun of it's I guess it's relatable where it's like I know so many people that go to shows that aren't very tall people, and you always have the tallest person in the room just happen to stand right in front
well, you know what's so funny about that is we were
push people because they're in front of me, and I'm just like, I am short.
and you can stand anywhere, right?
Well, what kind of person are you when you go to a rock and roll show? I know there's always like the MILFs that like to be in the front row, but they're always to the far right side. Then you got the House of Blues who like to be at the back of the bar, just commentating on the band, saying they're good or they're shitty. Or are you like the mosher? What kind of person are you, Mike?
Well, I was usually on stage. So.
Hey, but you were once a fan.
Yeah.
Like where are you now?
I love being up in the front. If I'm really, really into the artist, especially if you're paying good money for it, you're like, I want to,
And what have you noticed with these recent rock and roll bands and the new decade? Do they give off that same intensity that you once knew of before? Because that's honestly what it felt like you were trying to get at with your film, I'll Be Around.
Well, it's different because you get older, so you get more jaded about things. But yeah, you try to give off the experience of being there live, and I think all of us are missing that right now.
Oh, hands down. I mean, when was the last time you went to a concert? I was lucky to go and see Machine Head in February.
I can't even remember. I should. That's what I regret. I should have gone to.
I think that's what almost everybody's regret. But one of the coolest things that I noticed in your cast of ensemble, you had over 50 characters. You had members from Dinosaur Jr., Mystery Science Theater 3000, the Adolescents, DI. I mean, how do you know these individuals? How did you get them all riled up to want to be in your film? I think that's so groovy.
Just telling them what it was about, and they're musicians, you know what I mean? So
just that simple. They're like, hey, they're musicians. I'm making a rock and roll coming of age film. You want to go in, Casey Royer? Like, are you cool with it? Is that literally how it went down?
Like DI and Adolescents when I was a teenager, they were like my peak bands. You know what I mean? So and I was lucky to become friends with them throughout the years. So it was like, hey, check out this thing that I'm working on. You guys want to make cameos in this? And they're pretty.
Well, how did that scenario all go down for the listening audience that's listening to you right now, Mike? How did you meet, the band members of the Adolescents and DI? Because I can only imagine that's a wild story.
Well, no, it's not that wild. We were just working on Oblivion, and I reached out to them, via email, and I was like, hey, I'm working on this punk show. Do you guys want to play like the parental figures on this show or whatever? So they were kind of stoked about that. And that was like, 2009 or whatever. So throughout this whole time, Frank Agnew of the Adolescents, who's like one of my favorite guitarists of all time. He's in my first movie, Jerry, and he's made cameos in music videos that I've done. So it was, it's pretty easy to, wrangle him.
Well, that's actually pretty interesting that you just mentioned that, Mike, because now it makes me really have some faith in the rock and roll and punk industry to see that they're actually all coming together to actually want to support one another, because I don't really see that so much in any other genre. Do you feel that same way? Or
I think it's the DIY factor, and just like that, everybody just did the stuff that they did because they weren't trying to be like rock stars or, make millions or whatever. They just did it because they were passionate, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it's for the love of music.
It's for the love of music. So I think they see that, in like a movie that's kind of showcasing that a little bit, and they're like, damn. It's also relatable too, because these characters they're in their mid-30s or so, or late 30s, and they're like, what the hell are we gonna do with our lives? This is what we love to do. This is our passion, and it's like what gives you meaning,
Which, yeah, you brought up a good point, because I know Marissa caught onto this right away.
Yeah, so I was actually, when I was watching your movie, I was like, okay, how cool. This is like my age right now of doing something that we love and like not ever having money. My husband is a singer of One Way System. He goes touring, comes back broke. I mean, this is like a revolving thing.
Right.
And I think one of my favorite lines in the movie is when the waitress, I think it's Joanna, I can't remember her name right now. Joni, thank you. So she had this perfect line. She goes, I do this because I'm now saying it off.
Sure.
I do it because I can't do anything else. Like without my art, I'm nothing. And it was just, it resonated so much with me because I'm an actor and I'm so poor.
I mean, yeah, right. It's an addiction. So
I can't do anything else. I mean, I've worked in a law firm. I've done all that, but it's like that. This movie spoke to me so much. So thank you so much for doing it.
yeah, it's like, well, I appreciate that, you know, you were able to relate to it. That's why we made it, so people can latch onto the ideas in there and go like, man, that's kind of like a mirror, you know. But yeah, it's like I don't make a penny off of these things, so I lose a ton of money, and it's a lot of work. But it's just like, and every time I finish a movie, I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. In the middle of this, actually, the second day, I was like, can I swear?
You can do whatever you want.
Fuck,
Fuck
I was
yeah.
fuck shit pissed. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I want to quit this thing. And my cinematographer, Jessica Gallant, she's like, well, it's a little too late for that now. So I was just like, all right, we're in this. We got to do this, and we have 70 days to do this thing. So we're also working around everybody's schedule because a lot of the actors that are in it, they relate to it. Some of them that are not musicians totally understand that. Like you said, this is what you do. This is like what motivates you to get up in the morning. So they all related to it, which is how they all got involved. But it's a struggle,
Well,
What
it's
else?
definitely a task when you say it's 70 days. I mean, that's
Right.
all. I didn't think it was going to be that long.
Not
That's
non-consecutive though. So
yeah, but that's still a mission and a half, and I can only imagine trying to rile up as many as like over 50 plus cast members. And what was that process of going through talent agencies and rallying up the troops to be in your film?
Well, it's
for all
like-
the future filmmakers.
I mean, I have my regular cast members. I have a lot of friends that are actors, people that I've met in the service industry that I've gotten to know really well. And then the people that I didn't know, it was just placing ads, putting them out, telling them what the project was about, and giving them roles that they normally will not get. So
I think people like that, right? I mean,
Right,
you'll never
yeah.
know unless you try, right? And if you don't ask, you'll never know, right? That's got to be the mantra in
Right.
life, especially if you want to be a filmmaker, a director, and writer like yourself. And one of the things I did notice about your film is, as much as we're on a millennial talk show, you really focused your film more on the 30-year-olds, anxiety and angst more than the 20-year-olds. What are your thoughts on Gen X and nowadays life? Because amuse me. What's your thoughts on them?
I mean, what like our personal age bracket, and I'm talking to Melissa up there. It's just like we relate.
Yeah, right.
We relate really closely to Gen Xers because we're like cusp. So they, the media tags us as Zennials,
Yeah.
just to fall for labels.
I remember having a little tape recorder with music that I would
Right,
turn on the video to get the song.
Yeah. Like I can't imagine what's like to have social media if I'm in high school. I didn't have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how things would change and like rumors and all, I can't even imagine, how crazy that world is. But it did because we were able to, in our custom, like late teens, early 20s, started having all this access to this crazy technology. We still were able to learn a little bit of patience, like Gen Xers have. Like right now, people are saying like Gen Xers can really handle being stuck indoors during quarantine because they're part of that generation that had to wait things out.
Right. And so what do you think about the millennials' mental state of mind now going into the new decade? Because I feel like, obviously, when I was watching your film, it didn't surprise me too much that some of us millennials might become some of those people that just struggle. Because like you said, we're so ingrained into the social media world that
Right.
sometimes, just going to a rock and roll show or being a part of a band just makes you escape from reality. And I always advocate for more of the youth to actually go and pick up a guitar. I mean, what are some of the valuable lessons that you can learn from just being in a band?
Oh, man. Humility.
True.
I don't know. It's interesting. Just like, you mean being on stage or?
Yeah, just kind of getting that presence or, just jamming out in a garage band. Cause I've been in it myself and, it's that feeling of collaboration, right? Like that you can all be in sync. And that's such a great gratifying feeling. But I've never actually performed on the stage in front of a listening audience. And how's that kind of euphoria like for yourself?
I mean, it's like you're gaining, I feel like you're gaining a little bit of genuine validation if someone actually enjoys what you're doing, because not to go on this tangent about social media or anything, but we do have the Eve Valentine character who's like, you know, she's a character that is probably the most successful out of all those people, but she doesn't even want that success, you know? And so you have these kids. So we do have the younger kids that are like the next generation coming up to her, and they're so stoked to see her. And they're like, "Hey, can we take a photo with you?" And she's like, I'm not a social media accessory, you know?
Right.
You want validation, create something, actually do something. Don't just post a stupid photo of yourself or whatever. And they're actually just real fans. There's a little bit of miscommunication there, but you can see the bitterness that lies with certain people that, you know, do spend a very long time and go through arduous tasks to create something, and they put it out there in this world and no one cares. And then someone just takes a picture of their photo and it has a picture of their food and it has 1,000 likes, for example.
Well, you know how I related to that scene, Mike, was because I don't know about you, but have you noticed that all these musicians are now becoming Twitch video game streamers?
I don't even know what that is.
Well, Twitch it's a video game platform where like literally you see people like Danny Horsnot from Asking Alexandria or Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse or Telly Smith from The Word Alive. They all got Twitch accounts where you can literally watch them play Call of Duty Warzone. Or you got the ones that are really advanced, like Metallica with their headquarters up in San Francisco. Sure. And we just said, 2 weeks ago, Trivium just bought out an airplane hangar to actually start doing more virtual shows online. And sometimes when I was relating with your film was because Gen X, they get so stuck in this one mindset that they don't want to really adapt themselves to actually push forward with the new technology that they have today.
And that's kind of what you have to do anyway. If you take it from like the greatest artists like, Bowie or Madonna, they were constantly, reinventing themselves to go along with technology or the way fads were moving, you know what I mean? So I totally understand that. So that's pretty interesting. It's a different way to reach your audience. Yeah,
that's for sure. And you know what? One of the craziest things I thought, for your sake was, I know you were mentioning it earlier, was about the income and, especially with the 70-day film shoot like yourself. What are you doing now to stay active during COVID-19 as a filmmaker?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm a huge cinephile, so I'm like literally watching 3 movies a day. And I'm reading a ton of comic books and regular books and trying to juggle all these ideas and remember what I actually expose myself to, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm exposing myself to. But I'm also writing,
Right.
So, fleshing out ideas for other projects that I really want to work on.
Yeah, because I was always, Marissa's got something.
I'm going to do a shameless plug because I honestly loved your movie. When you do more projects, make sure you call me.
Oh, I got you in mind already.
Because your movie, when I was watching it, I was like, where the hell are all those people with tattoos? All those naked skin.
And while we got a few minutes with you, Mike, what is that one band that you've been listening to just recently that you feel like maybe the millennial listening audience is sleeping on and they should be checking out right now?
I don't know. I like a lot of newer dark wave bands. So I like this band called Geometric Vision. They just released a new single, which is pretty amazing, atmospheric goth stuff, Okay. And like their little bit earlier stuff has
is that like Angels and Airwaves kind of feel, or?
No, it's like they're cool. They're cool. They just have a very I just had a friend that texted me Menudo. They got a new album that you got to check out.
Okay. I see. I'm hearing a lot of new bands I have no idea about, and I love that. So that's pretty groovy. And what was that genre you just said? It was called New Wave?
Dark Wave.
Dark Wave. Okay, amuse me because I've never heard of Dark Wave. What is this genre?
Well, it's highly influenced by, it's like, you have the Berlin goth bands, of the yesteryear. This guy's like cracking up right now because I said Menudo.
No, I'm just, because I always laugh about this because especially with like hip hop and rap, there's not so many like sub, genres and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely think that's really funny.
I think she was saying, the song You Spin Me Right Round.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea. The darker.
I was telling him it was time, but I forgot I have a soundbite for that. Hold on.
Oh, Marissa, we love you to death. But hey, just to remind everybody, this is director and writer Mike Cuenca. His film is a rock and roll coming of age story. It's called I'll Be Around. And for all the listening audience out there, where can they check out your film, Mike?
They can check it out right now on ibafilm.com. It's streaming for a limited time. It got extended, but...
Hey, let's go. So you only got a few more, months? 2 more months? A month?
I got probably like a week and a half or so,
Okay,
But
rock
then,
and
but
roll.
then it'll be on all the streaming platforms in a few. So
Hey, we like it, Mike Cuenca. Thank you again for joining the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show.